It is literally so dark outside that I can't see anything, and that is on the winter solstice. And what better time, might I ask, to talk about a film lost to history, the greatest film of its year, of its decade, of its era. No other films have been made quite like this one, and well, I haven't actually looked up if it won any awards. I know for a fact it was snubbed. The year is 1988. That's like nearly 30 years ago. Pleasantville has been released theatrically. So has the great work of genius that is Ever After. Practical Magic, which I haven't seen. I am enthralled by the fact that Gwyneth Paltrow had two real hits that year with Great Expectations and the infamous Sliding Doors. What film could I be talking about? Could it be Babe? Could it be Slappy and the Stinkers? Could it be The Parent Trap? Polly or Ants? No. Because while some of those films that I have watched are good, some even great, none of them changed lives or hit home the way this one did. The year is 1988. Come back in time with me and find out how this movie changed the world. Take my hand, I will be telling this story. Welcome to Movie Time with Romy. Have you ever felt like people didn't really get you or see your value, or that they looked at you and they saw one aspect of what you looked like or what you were interested in or who you were, and they just took it and ran, whereas you, in your heart, knew yourself. You knew that you were capable. You knew that you had other interests. You knew that you were more than just a little tiny baby in a world of businessmen. I too have experienced that. I understand. It's a bit shit when people are like, no. And that's where this film comes in. Or more appropriately, the TV show that was made about the book series, and then the movie was made about the book series, but it came after the TV show. But I watched the TV show, but also grew up with the book series, and then I watched the movie and I never liked it as much, but then I loved the TV show, and then I just rewatched the movie, and it's Madeline. Growing up, I was always the shortest person in any group of people, and thusly, those people would look at me and be like, oh, Romy needs help. Romy is too short to look up over the kitchen bench. Romy needs a step stool. Romy needs a helping hand. Romy is weak and fragile and just a tiny little helpless baby. And I would be like, hello, I have strength, I have power, I have a step stool that I can pick up and maybe whack you. I was constantly frustrated by people's subtle attempts to put me into a box which didn't fit me. And then came Madeline, a character who also experienced these same frustrations, and I felt a kindred spirit. I felt myself resonate with a character for the first time in my life, and recently I was searching for something to watch and I saw the 1998 Madeline sitting on the shelf, and I pulled it down and I had no idea the world of adventure and fun and insanity I was in for, and I immediately started taking notes. Now, I will say this film isn't perfect. There is one scene which Madeline refers to Pepito in a way that today's language is not okay to use. You don't refer to people like that. Otherwise, though, I feel like the film really did age very well. It is, you know, Madeline's always been progressive. Madeline's always been the bestest. The casting is absolutely pitch perfect. I never knew it was Frances McDormand until like 2 years ago when I started realizing who Frances McDormand was. I love this portrayal of Miss Clavel and how cheeky she is and how caring and sincere. We have this little haughty villain guy. He's Crazy. Ben Daniels. I always thought he was such a dreamboat. I feel like Ben Daniels is like a cornerstone of my life. He's been in so many things and I'm always like, oh, charming. And he was one of my favourite bits of this film as a child. And one of the quotes that I will say just out of nowhere multiple times a year, you know, cornerstone quotes, is Miss Clavel. He's perfect as like the villainous scoundrel. So if you've seen any episode of Madeline or read any of the Madeline books, you basically have the premise for this incredible film. There's some kids. They live in a house. It's in Paris. There's 12 of them. They're looked after by a nun who allegedly teaches them lessons, but we never see that. We just see them all lined up going for walks and brushing their teeth and stuff. Occasionally they pray. Their next door neighbour is a little boy who is the son of the Spanish ambassador. For some reason, this street must be really popular with embassies because Mr. Cuckoo-Face is trying to sell the school, and the only people coming to buy it are people from different embassies. It doesn't really make sense, but that is okay because the main thing is we have Pepito and all of the girls go nuts for him because he's got charisma. Madeline, not interested. Who's this little jerk riding around on the gravel on his Vespa thinking he's so cool? Just a quick rundown of this story before we get to the highlights. We meet the kids. Madeline falls off a bridge. She's rescued by a dog. She decides she's gonna own that dog now. She wakes up in the night and has to have her appendix removed. And then she meets Lady Covington, Lord Cuckoo-Face's wife, who then immediately dies. Madeline goes home and Lord Cuckoo-Face is like, I'm selling this place. I want this to be another embassy. Embassy number 2, if you will. The kids are like, oh my God, who is he? It's Pepito, riding on his little scooter, and it's Ben Daniels as Pepito's tutor, who's like, Miss Clavel, what do you do to have fun around here? And Miss Clavel, who is literally a nun, is like, Madeline and her 11 friends, some of whom she doesn't like most of the time, go to the museum. Pepito and Ben Daniels also go to the museum. Pepito does a really weird thing with his voice where he hides and Madeline comes into a room and he's like, where are you going, little girl? And it's not explained really where he taught himself how to do that. Madeline is not impressed. Madeline inspires the French, particularly this artist, who she's like, I really like your abstract work. It's beautiful. And he's like, I don't know. I've been feeling kind of down about it. And she's like, I can see the sun in your work. And he's like, guess I'll keep going then. The inspiration has come back. I feel that. Madeline is in the car, getting erratically drove home by the cook who works at the school and Miss Clavel. There's a chicken next to her. Madeline's like, are we having a pet chicken? And Miss Clavel's like, we don't have pets. And the cook is like, I'm making you a special meal. It's Chicken Helene. And Madeline's like, but this is Fred. And they're like, no, that's dinner. And Madeline's like, this is my best friend. This is my homeboy. He's my pal. He's my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese. And that evening, her sweet cheese is served up on a platter to welcome her home. And she's like, vegetarianism, yes. Meat eating, no. And one kid stuffs her face with Fred whilst everyone else clucks. All of the girls are so hungry that night that they have to sneak into the kitchen where they walk past Miss Clavel and Helene, the cook, playing poker. They play around in the kitchen, big bras are put on, kids say boobies, 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 and then the little shit Pepito is at the window wearing a horrifying red mask and being like, surf's up. Lord Cuckoo-Face is like, I'm gonna sell. The kids are all like, you're not gonna sell. This is our home. And Madeline's an orphan. You should feel sad for her. She's literally gonna have to live in a gutter if you sell this place. Miss Clavelle's like, she's not going to live in a gutter. Madeline's like, I'm going to live in a gutter if you sell this place. And Lord Cuckooface is like, gutter it be then. So he brings around all these ambassadors and the kids get wild and they tell the ambassadors to get wrecked. Pepito's having a birthday party and Miss Clavelle feels kind of sad for him because his parents do just leave him with the servants and go out partying all the time, and Pepito's like, I wish I had a family. I'm jealous of you, Madeline, because you've got a family. And Madeline's like, shut the front door? I'm an orphan. And he's like, well, better to be an orphan who has friends than a rich boy who has everything but. I really love it when people are so relatable. So Pepito invites all the girls from the school next door to his birthday party, and this scene has stuck with me for life because I was always enamored by the costumes. The girls wear the most incredible dresses, ruffles, tulle, ribbons, little gloves, little ankle socks. Pepito is like, I'm gonna feed a mouse to my snake. Madeline's like, you better trucking not, you little weirdo. He's like, I'm not gonna feed it live. I've made up a guillotine. I'm gonna chop it to bits first. Madeline's like, I'm gonna chop you to bits first, mate. Mice everywhere. It's war between Madeline and Pepito for about 3 seconds. Lord Cuckooface, the little shit stirrer that he is, lets Genevieve out of the garden shed after he steps in some dog poo and gets really mad that they've got a dog. Madeline, distraught. They go to the circus. Madeline is still distraught, but everyone's like, well, fine, Genevieve, probably, maybe. Paris is a big place. Cross your fingers. We're at the circus. Pepito is with his parents. Madeline is with her friends. Pepito gets kidnapped by Ben Daniels. Madeline decides to run away. She'll live with the circus forever, and she swears her best friend to secrecy, who then, on the bus ride home, holds her head up next to her. I've never been more convinced that there were 2 children in that seat. Yada, 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 the end. Iconic scene, Miss Clavelle! You've got to watch it. Madeline is perhaps one of the most quotable characters I have ever come across, and my God, was I quoting her. The scene where they're in the kitchen, Pepito comes up to the window and he tries to scare them and all the girls start screaming, and Madeline, rage. She sees red. She looks and sees Pepito running away and she screams after him, I don't care who your father is! We're not in Spain anymore and we won't stand for this! When Tutor Ben Daniels approaches Miss Clavelle and is like, what do I do with this kid? What do I teach him? You know, I've never been a tutor before. Miss Clavelle helpfully says, well, we do excursions. We're going to the museum tomorrow. And then Ben Daniels says, so what do you do on your day off? I pray. Madeline, having come home from her horrible surgery and stay in hospital, just having found out that a woman she loved and admired has died overnight, is presented with this chicken at the table. And Helene, the cook, says, chicken, Helene. And Madeline says, Fred. Fred? Who's Fred? That's Fred. Mind you, she was in the car with this bird for 5 minutes, maybe 10 tops. And yet this little kid still has the audacity to say, you wouldn't eat him if you'd known Fred like I did. I've written, Pepito draws a monster with butt cheeks. Oh yes. When they're in the museum, Madeline is like, Miss Clavelle, I've lost my sketchbook, but I know where it is. And Miss Clavelle's like, Jesus Christ, Madeline? Do you want to go get it? Madeline's like, and she runs into the room. Pepito does his weird voice magic tricks. I think he's a warlock sent to ruin us all with his evil magic. Madeline is like, that is my sketchbook, you little weirdo. And she gets it and he's like, see you on my Vespa. Madeline opens the sketchbook and it's like, dun dun! Because he's drawn this vicious, horrible, scary monster in it that he's given really prominent butt cheeks. It's meant to be like, oh my god, this little boy really is a bad hat. Why is he given this monster such fine cheeks? This monster is thick with 2 C's and a silent Q. When the girls come to Pepito's birthday, they are all in their absolute finest. Pepito is introduced standing at the top of the stairs dramatically, and he's in this bullfighting costume. He clarifies it is a bullfighting costume, but Madeline, when she sees him, is like, nobody told me it was a fancy dress party. And he's like, fancy dress? No, this is a bullfighting costume. And Madeline, who will never lose a fight, just looks at him and says, those must be some pretty small bulls. I genuinely can't remember if this was just me writing what I felt or if this was a direct quote. Madeline and I are so intertwined in our personalities and feelings that it really could be either. I think it is a quote though. Genevieve, noblest dog in France, you shall have your vengeance. This is after Lord Cuckoo Face has let her escape. He has freed her. He said, get out of the garden. You must. And Madeline's basically like, rip him to shreds, babe. When I find you, you can have him. Have at him. When they're at the circus and Madeline is like, I guess I'll just live here now. She comes upon Pepito being kidnapped and pulled into the back of a circus truck. And then Daniels comes out and he says, oh, terrific, it's the Melina! And it just encapsulates the cadence of this film. Everything is just pitch perfect. When they're trying to find Pepito and Madeline, who's both been realised they're missing, a policeman says, like, is it possible the little girl and the little boy have run off together for a romantic adventure? And everyone's like, no, absolutely not. No, not a chance. And he's just like, perhaps if you were French. And finally, Madeline just decides, you know what, I'm walking about one day, life's getting a little boring. I'm going to tell my friends just what a stuck-up little prig Pepito is. And because they don't listen to me, because no one takes me seriously because I'm small, I have to get up on the parapet. I have to get up on the parapet and I will walk along this parapet and I will proclaim and I will swing my imaginary sword. Oh shit, I knocked the painter's painting equipment into the sand, but that's okay because it's not, we're talking about me here. And she's like, I hate him and you all should as well, and also don't eat chicken because vegetarianism rules. And then she falls into the Seine and it is a masterclass in stunt work. There's some films where the stunt work is actually hilarious, like the scene where Buttercup falls in The Princess Bride and is falling down the hill backwards, and if you slow it down, it's like, oh, they didn't have a stunt woman to do this, so they put like a guy with a beard in a wig, and it's iconic, it's history in a film. But in this one, it's nothing like that, it's just, she's gone. What did Pride and Prejudice teach us? That if someone's a dick, they're a dick through and through. But Madeline's like, Pepito, nah, he is nasty. Miss Clavel says, Madeline, I don't think you should judge people too quickly. And Madeline, freaking icon that she is. But I guess I understood him quickly. Put it in the arsenal, keep it forever. The fact that the children are brutal, they're walking around at the party and Madeline sees a clown there because they're working on the kidnapping plot sideways, and she's like, is there meant to be a clown at this party? And Pepito stone cold turns to her, the only clown here is you. If either of these kids looked at me when I was little, I would be on the floor weeping. Hattie Jones is the actor who starred as Madeline, and she is truly an icon, a myth, a legend. She has it all. She is an incredible actor. Emotional scenes, she is like watching a master at their craft. If you were to turn back time and have a look at Leonardo da Vinci as a 10-year-old, these two, fabulous. Madeline for me was always an absolute inspiration and a kind of furious support of, I know people might look at me and think I can't do certain things and judge me because of my size, but I'm strong and I can do anything. And it was always such a comfort to know that there was a character who I could resonate so deeply with. And there's been other characters in my life that I have felt that kind of connection with, but Madeline was the first. And watching the film, it made me remember how deeply I appreciated her and how much I needed her. You know, as an adult, you can sometimes forget the things that you go through as a child, and while certain aspects of my childhood have definitely stayed with me, it was only on rewatching this that I remembered how much people's perception of me affected me. And, you know, I still get that sometimes people look at me and they're like, oh, I see you as someone who, you know, is femme presenting, so you can't do this, you're not strong enough to do this. And I love proving idiots wrong, but Madeline was incredibly important to me in a way that it was quite emotional watching that back. You know, it's an absolutely bloody stellar film, and I would literally recommend it and be happy to watch it every week for the rest of my life. But it's not just funny, it's not just a comedy, it's not just insanely quotable, it is also a character who always meant a great deal to me, and I really liked getting to see her again. If you too have been doubted, if your capacity has been second guessed or not even considered, I say this: you, noblest human before me, you shall have your vengeance.